make a move and the bunny gets it.
I said, put the bunny back in the box. Why couldn't you put the bunny back in the box?
It's showtime.
Psychically, I'm very well endowed.
I want to know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I want to know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Hey there, this is Cooper from Telepathic Buddy Comics. Welcome to the Rabbit Hole. This is the Monday call-in show. I've got a guest with me today. This is Mr. Lee Corso. Welcome to the show.
Good evening. I'm not sure what time zone you're in, but hopefully I got the right one. Thank you for having me over. I'm very excited to talk about this vital subject, maybe one of the most important subjects of the 21st century.
It might be. It might indeed be. Yeah, change perspective just a little bit. All right. Is that too big? Is that too big? You're...
No, that's okay. This is good.
All right. Some people get like freaked out if they're too big on the screen. Oh my god! Oh my god! You know, anyway.
Have more people over, so we had the Brady Bunch arrangement.
There you go. There you go. I got a co-host that might pop in every once in a while, but eat on my stream or whatever. But hopefully he won't pop in today. But anyway, so the way I got this subject was I got one of my chat members. He made this chat, and it wasn't really it wasn't on my subject, but I was like, I got to cover this eventually because it's such a good subject. But he said, thoughts. We are about 2 years from AI making on-the-spot fan fiction comics with whatever topic and scenario you wish. Is the invention of AI signifying the end of writing as a profession? Okay. Now, we would be really stupid if we didn't see the possibility of this being damaging, at least. To the profession on certain levels. Wouldn't you agree to that?
Definitely it would be if it's a thing. There is so much back and forth on this subject. I don't know exactly what to make of it. And also I'm curious, how does your friend come up with that number of 2 years? Where is he researching the subject? Is he I guess keeping up with a new developments in that field? Because I'm curious why 2 years specifically.
Yeah, that was pretty specific. All right. Well, let me ask him to come to. He's in the chat right now. Hey, Creators Outlet, Hell Nerds, Freaks and Geeks. He's not here, but he just stops by and says that, and then quickly farts off. Okay. But this is WEF Patsy. He is the guy that came up with the question. All right. He says less than 2 years. How did you come up with that?
Yeah, that is fascinating.
It'd be interesting to know. where you're getting that number from. Um, Now I know that Elon Musk has been like talking about it. He just said, "I am just immersed in it." Okay,
Okay, okay.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
definitely
All
more
right.
than me. I'm only getting
Mhm.
it what comes from social media, Twitter in particular.
Right,
And well,
right.
and then I watch YouTubers who say that the AI
Mhm.
thing, it's a bubble that is about to burst. So they're kind of hyping it, speculating, like building it
Right.
up to get more funding for it. But
Yeah.
they say that it's probably going to collapse. Like it's probably not going to evolve much more from what it is unless
Right.
there's like a military purpose attached to it in that
Well,
regard.
I believe that copyright has started to catch up with it.
Mm.
In the short term, when it first showed up, people didn't really understand how it was how it created the images or created the writing that it does. Uh, and basically, what it does is it pulls from already like creative works, and then it takes that and like creates a language, and then it like reinterprets it uh, due to the language. So, like Adobe really got in trouble because Adobe's like added into their contract that any image that you create on Photoshop is now available to their AI engine
I
to
remember
power
that. That
their
was a
AI.
big issue. Yeah, people, artists were like
Mhm.
photographers were flipping out over that.
Well, yeah. I mean, basically they're using their art to put them out of business, essentially.
Mm,
So nobody's going to be on board, for their own extinction. Uh, I
yeah.
don't know why they thought that would fly. So I have paid membership since 2022 December. December. Paid membership to what?
I was gonna say, yeah,
You're
like
like
maybe
talking.
in Mid Journey.
Right.
Does he mean Mid Journey?
That's possible. I used to
I
create
might
graphic.
copy for various businesses, social media accounts. Yes. I'm
Yeah.
curious. I guess if I like to see what he does because I have fooled around with like a crayon on Mid Journey, and
Yeah.
while I find the stuff, the images um mostly okay, mostly competent, and the
Yeah.
writing okay, like it, I think maybe you have to, like, I don't know, maybe I'm using it on the shallow end of things, maybe
Mhm.
Mid Journey, Chat GPT. Okay, so yeah, so
Right.
okay, so because I've tried with both of those, not deeply, but I've tried things,
Yeah.
and the results are okay. Like, for example, I remember
Right.
one time I saw a tweet by someone, an influencer that I liked a lot, so I entered that into Chat GPT and I asked him to give me 10 more of that, and
Hmm.
it did it, but they were so bland, so
Right.
like containing nothing. It was almost like the Hallmark version of a tweet. It just
Yeah.
gave you like a warm feeling, but it had no teeth. It had nothing to it. So okay, yeah. So you have to be a good prompter, yeah.
Well,
So
there are
maybe that's
people
what it
that
is.
are
Yeah.
actually advertising themselves as like for their prompting ability, like they're actually artists. It's like, well, there's an artistry to giving prompts to the AI. It's also
I've
made a
heard that
great
as well.
strides the
Yeah.
last few weeks. Yeah. Um, well, the thing about it is, though, is there's already been like a cover contest that were like they had to disqualify somebody for a uh I think Todd McFarlane had a cover contest that actually had an entry that was disqualified,
I
but
remember that. Yeah.
yeah, but it actually made the finals, I believe. But and then somebody that had like an eye for it said that is like
That is
AI.
AI generated. Yeah. I
um
remember that. In fact, because a number of people were doing that. I like someone made
mhm,
like a children's book with AI and then try to pass it as their own. And I guess it got to the it made it to the pretty much
right.
to the publishing stages. Like they were actually gonna publish it, and I guess someone noticed. And
Mhm.
again, they caught on. But as your friend says, it's gotten better. So it may be to a point now where unless you spend a lot of time there, you may not be able to tell. You may not be able to make see it with the naked eye.
Well, it's like somebody the other day was talking about that their friend just went back to school for graphic design,
Mm.
and I was like, "Oh no,"
Yeah, I was thinking something like
So
that. Like maybe for one, I
yeah,
think you can learn that through like a Audacity or Coursera. You can probably learn that
yeah.
for much less than what it costs to go to college.
Well,
And well, as you said, I mean, there's machines
yeah,
over there's AI doing that for you. Mid Journey can probably in between Mid Journey and
yeah.
either one of the Adobe programs or Canva. Canva, I think, already has their own AI version too of Canva.
Yeah.
You can prompt it and it'll do like the
right.
entire thing for you, like a banner, a billboard, an entire kid's book, a comic book.
Yeah. Well, fonts have become so like really complicated that a lot of people just resort to like finding a font and like you know uh blowing that up and like detailing it and then calling it a day. Um the day of somebody just coming up with some complete total like Spawn's like title is very iconic, with the green, the
Yes,
swoops,
yeah.
and the skull in the middle. And but then the other day I saw where somebody put out a comic, indie comic, and essentially copied the Spawn style, and the cover
Mm,
was AI. And so it was like, did they use AI
very derivative,
to
yeah.
ape the Spawn? Yeah. But if you know what you're looking at, you see it. There's something called derivation or derivative, and then there's something called copying. And some of this is like I think right now the dividing line is between deriving from or copying. And this AI that's coming in is more like a deriving. Uh, basically taking something, using it as a language, and then spitting out something similar. And
Yeah.
that's what's a lot of people are really afraid of, is that they're going to create an entirely unique work of out of their own brain, and then it's going to become a language for a computer that can spit out like 30 and
Yeah, mass
completely
producing.
totally water down their creation.
Yeah.
um
Mm,
a second, it's quickly becoming uncanny.
I was gonna
uh
say yes.
yeah. And then
Canva does have AI.
Kava
Canva
is
member too, yeah.
does have AI. He's a Canva member too. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've tried some Canva stuff. Virtually a computer illiterate 3 years ago, AI is the greatest teaching tool ever created, especially for small business owners. Yeah. Like I did a piece of animation for my trailer, and it was just basically a pan up of my character in front of a flag, and
Mm,
it was just like a slow pan up, right? I'll play it right quick, but this is animation. This is a good example of what we're talking about here. But this is animation that I paid $500 for,
oh
uh,
wow.
and and he complained that he was you know
Underpaid.
working for cheap for this.
Oh wow.
So here it is.
50 years ago, America passed the 28th Amendment, virtually enslaving anyone with special abilities into government service, or forcing them to live as ordinary citizens. With his team disbanded, America's foremost protector and hero for a century had been betrayed by the very institution he swore to serve. Erased from its history books, his every exploit was covered up. Now, in a place called Little Bighorn, the greatest hero America has forgotten will come out of retirement to take down the very institution he once served, assembling a new team of superpowered individuals wielding abilities never before witnessed. In a country that has banned its heroes, it's time to root for the criminals. Let's start a new revolution.
That was pretty cool.
One second.
Oh, okay.
All right. It's pretty cool, but it cost me $500 just that piece right there, and he was complaining the whole time that he was working cheap,
Yeah.
but I've been able to reuse it and do stuff like that. But somebody pointed out to me, is like, well, you could have done that in AI,
It crossed
And
my mind too to say that like you can do it. I guess you have to know how to say the prompt and like maybe even camera, like the the little pan up and all that. You have to specify all those things. But I imagine it's
right.
possible. Yeah, let's get into
Well,
that place.
but at the same time, that would be putting an animator, even though he's a dick, it
No
would be
boy,
putting him
really.
out of work.
I wonder if that's the real reason why maybe he's not getting more work. Maybe he's lacking professionalism
Well,
instead of
he
like
worked,
artistic skill.
he worked for Disney at one point. So,
Mhm.
and I've been around him a couple times since, and I did mention to him, I was like, sorry I couldn't pay the $500 straight out, to suit you, but some of us just don't have that money to throw around,
Yes. Yeah.
and the guy that was working with him that basically I thought I was working with, he basically like cut ties with this guy for that reason.
Mm.
But at the same time, somebody has told me that particular animation, like somebody Pedro Caldero, he says I could have done that for you cheaper,
Oh wow.
and he actually overcharged you for that, but then.
Mm.
But it's a pissing contest, I guess, between animators. Somebody I could do that cheaper, but at the same time,
People on Upwork fighting each other,
exactly,
outbidding each other on the thing.
right. But at the same time, there's a whole lot of creatives right now that in the space. You go and ask for a graphic designer, and you will get inundated with people
Yes.
that are just and they're. And you could tell their stuff's like photoshopped, photo bashed, and derivative, and none of it's like quality stuff.
No sense of like a artistic voice, I guess. Yeah, which is probably maybe the difference between AI and like
Yeah.
an artist. Like an artist is following,
Mhm.
experimenting and trying things. And AI, I think it's more running a program, even if it's like you said, a derivation.
Right.
It's still following like a command, a final command. An artist, I think,
Right.
is just exploring on its way to find a solution for a problem. It's
Right.
creatively experimenting to find a practical solution to a problem, which is I need a banner, I need like a logo, I
Yeah.
need things like that. So,
Well,
so in that aspect, I
right.
think you will have some artists who will survive, but I think it'll be just like a high level of eccentricity, like artists who are so like the David Bowie's a graphic artist, I guess. They're
Yeah.
so uniquely
Right.
themselves. Like they're
Mhm.
almost like above comparison. Like you cannot compare them, even though
Right.
they're taken from everywhere. They
Yeah.
blend it in such a way through their mind, through the way they perceive things,
Mhm.
that they just simply stand out. They take so much that they become like a highly original thing that has no equal.
Oh, right. Absolutely. Hold on a second. My man, Cruel, what's up, dude? But he says using AI to create something without creating something. Hey, I could use that. LOL exclamation point.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like a
see.
riddle.
Yeah, a little bit. Worked for Disney and didn't have professionalism. How about that? Yeah, right.
I guess he wasn't bitter.
Well, you have to be able to articulate yourself clearly and concisely using proper
Cinematic
jargon,
synthwave.
i.e., low angle cinematic synthwave. I
That
got
is
you. I
wild. I
got
can
you.
generate synthwave for you.
Right. Is there room for uncreative people? I can totally do that.
I guess it. I
Well,
mean, your friend just said the previous message that you just have to be able to specify the prompt. If you're good at prompting, I guess it'll give you something cool. It'll give you
well,
something.
I'm really good at web searches. In that, uh, web searches, doing the web searches for people is a skill that a lot of people don't have. You see these engineers, these really good engineers on these shows like Joe Rogan or whatever, and Jamie, he just says to Jamie, like pull this up, and Jamie will have it like within seconds.
Yes, yeah.
Quarter Black Garrett's good at that, or but you see the really good engineers that can just like pull stuff up. Some Jamie will pull stuff up like right after the guy mentioned it. He pulls it up, and
Yeah.
he's
Even before he
had
fully
several.
finished saying what he wants, like he already has like a ton of info on it. Yeah, I guess Joe
Right,
Rogan found
right,
some
right,
good
right.
people, and he keeps them on a payroll. He made sure
Oh
they're
yeah,
happy.
oh yeah. But that's a talent. Being able to do that. I've done research. I'm a writer, so you research your own stuff, and I've been able to pull up find some pretty obscure stuff. Like I had to look for a gas tank on a Opel. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's like a transport for the World War II. Just the other day, and I had to like figure out where the gas tank was located, and I never could find the gas tank on that stupid thing. But I was able to like get most of the schematics and find stuff like that. It's a pretty obscure thing, but I was able to like find a 3D model and kind of like circle around it. And I was like, where's the damn gas tank on this stupid thing? But
that's pretty cool. That is impressive.
But yeah, I mean, basically, a lot of these people I see are like I'm an AI prompter. That's what I do, right? And yeah, that might be the way of the future. And then again, it could be Betamax instead, VCR Betamax. We don't know. This technology is so brand new, and copyright is catching up to it already. And but I mean, I can ghostwriter, a good ghostwriter can write in the style of anybody. I can write in the style of Stephen King, because I've read enough Stephen King, I've processed enough Stephen King. I used to be a fan fiction writer, and I would write like I wrote J.K. Rowling in the J.K. Rowling voice.
Oh, wow.
I did a sequel to Harry Potter series, and it was very well received. I mean, very well received.
So you're a ghostwriter, then you ghostwrite?
No, I don't ghostwrite. I'd like to, because people make some money, but no, I was a fan fiction writer. But
okay.
But yeah, I mean, I can see somebody like being able to like, take somebody's voice, somebody's proclivities. Like J.K. Rowling is in love with adverbs and adjectives. Okay, everything's got a ly on the end of it, basically. And when I wrote in her voice, I had to like put more of those in than I was comfortable to make it sound like her.
Yeah.
And the way she structures sentences and things like that, I got pretty good at aping that. But at the same time, I was able to stick my own creativity into it, but I was able to use her voice. You know what I'm saying?
Voice,
and ultimately, exclusively hire uncreative people. There you go.
I can see that. Yeah, maybe creative people argue too much and make trouble. So.
Right, creative people want their own voice, and some funny mashups on YouTube using AI. Yeah,
I do notice.
No, not a chance. AI is here forever. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. I got you.
That is true,
I got you.
Yeah, so that is one thing you mentioned. Like I watch a lot of channels about like unexplained phenomena, UFO stuff like that, and I noticed that a lot of them actually they use AI images. They create AI images for their things.
Right. Well, consider everything's got copyright.
So I don't know if they do good quality images. They look photographic, like well made. Like for example, if it's a story that happened like in the 1940s or 1930s, the images have that sepia kind of blurry quality to them. So they look very much like something captured from that era. Very impressive.
Well, I was looking at a video this morning of the Hindenburg. It used the Hindenburg footage and used AI to colorize it. And it was practically like watching it happen live. And it was very disturbing. I mean, very, very disturbing. Seeing it in black and white was bad enough. But so I could see stuff like that. You're using like deep fakes to like bring actors back to life. And it's funny. Running Man, that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. There was like this one scene where they wanted to kill off Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, and so they took an actor and had him murdered, by this guy, and then they like matted this guy's face onto it and said, "Look, he got killed," And
I remember that. Yeah, and that seemed like wildly improbable then, but like it's
really
a thing now. Like
but they're doing. They have that ability now.
Yes, yeah. Like remember a couple of years ago, that guy did a deep fake of Tom Cruise. He was talking about magic, That it looked
Right.
convincing. I thought it was really him at first. I was like, oh wow, that is
Well,
uncanny.
Tom Cruise looks like AI anyway. You know, when he's talking about
He's
that.
getting to that place, yeah.
When he's talking, that Scientology rant was like straight creepy shit. You know.
Oh, the one where
so
he's
it's
like sitting like with a black sweater
with
talking
the
up. Yeah.
turtleneck on, yeah.
It's really funny. I remember watching. Yes.
You know,
Well, it's
like
funny. I
super
was
villain
watching one
laugh.
that had
It's like,
captions,
what?
and
Yeah.
when he gets to that part where he starts laughing, the caption goes, "Laughs maniacally."
I know.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty. Like, it made it extra funny. I gave it that extra funny edge.
Oh
But,
man. Oh
yeah, like
man.
exactly. Like now
He
it's
was
becoming more
unhinged.
prevalent. And I
He was
understand
freaking
that the
unhinged.
new Alien movie actually has like a Ian Holm as
Yeah.
I forgot a Bishop. Was Bishop his name? No, not that was Lance
Well, it's
Henriksen.
this is supposed to be like an early version of this his character, and it's called Rook, I think, which is
Yeah,
kind of
and
which is like an homage to Bishop, but it's Ian Holmes.
Ian Holmes, yeah.
You
So
know,
Ian Holmes, I guess it's like a character practically in the movie. Like I haven't seen
yeah,
it, but I hear like he has quite a bit of screen time. So
yeah,
there you
and
go.
it's the dude died like 2 years ago, I think. Might be
Maybe more than
two or
that, but
three
yeah,
years
it's
ago.
like
Yeah.
there you go. So it's funny.
So
It's not, but I remember maybe I want to say like
mhm,
4 years ago, maybe I think
yeah,
just before pandemic hit. I
mhm,
remember like talk about like making movies with Humphrey Bogart and Jimmy Dean. I
right,
thought that was such a like an
right.
odd pick of those two of all people. Like personally, if we're gonna do that, like bring back Steve McQueen, you know?
Yeah, right. Um, well, you know, some of these character actors that basically, oh, there was a big fear about this. The guy who played, what is his name? He played Willard. He played the dad in Back to the Future. What is his name?
Oh, Crispin Glover.
Crispin Glover. He
Yeah.
actually took them to court because because he would not come back for the sequel. He didn't like the script. They
Oh.
basically put a mask that they had done a form of his face because they were like aging him up, and so to do
Mm.
the makeup they did a form of his face, and then they took that form and made a mask of him and put it on another actor to like for a scene to kill his character off. And
Okay.
he didn't okay this. He found out about it, you know, later on, and he
Yes.
took him to court over it, and that's just like a case that some people think he won the settlement, and so some people think that's the case that's probably going to keep people from like being made beat puppets for in perpetuity for Hollywood, but
Yes, yeah. And I don't know, and maybe also the writers' strike. You remember that from like
yeah.
last year? I think it was last year, that writers' strike.
Mhm.
I don't know if maybe they were able to add clauses about that. I guess that would be more like the Actors Guild so much. I don't know if they
There's
were able to
nothing
come
that
up with some sort of
benefited.
like handle on that.
The only people that writer strike benefited was the union. They sold the people out to the union, and they're like suffering for it now. But the union got everything they wanted, but
AI
they
will
sold
kill
people
most
out.
jobs. The really creative people will
AI will
create.
kill most jobs. Really creative people will be okay and will become niche.
That's what I
And
feel. I heard the third act of Alien Romulus is wonky. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it either, but one of the Ash and
yeah,
Alien. Yeah,
that's an
it
alien.
was
Yeah,
actually Ash. Yeah,
it
Bishop
was
was
Ash.
Lance Henriksen. Yeah, but that's what I was thinking. Yeah, like the people who like the creative people who thrive are probably gonna be people who become so
Right.
unique. You know, like I said, they'll become like the David Bowie of graphic designer cartoonists, or like
Well,
the PJ
see,
Harvey of cartoonists, like someone so
right.
unique, someone that you cannot pigeonhole, but at the same time, it's so distinctive that, like you said,
You
unique.
know, it's one of the things that I saw this coming like years ago when they started to like you know, hiring writers based on arbitrary characteristics. Basically, I don't care if you can write or not. Do you check this box? You know, the DEI stuff. You know,
Oh, okay, well, I
CRT and
was gonna
DEI.
say, yeah, like the message, if you push the message
Right.
and you support the ideology that
Yeah.
it's
Uh,
killing entertainment, like in
well,
between
well,
that ideology and AI.
right. Well, but the thing that it did is it left it wide open. I mean, there's several things that we've seen lately that that a lot of us believe was written by AI. You know, and because of if you have devalued writing ability so much that you think you can just plug somebody in because of the right skin color or i.e. gender or
Yeah, they
spout the
check
right
the
ideology.
proper ideological boxes. Yeah.
Exactly. If you have devalued it to the point where basically they just have to like be breathing and of the right racial characteristic makeup,
Yes.
then you are opening it wide open for something artificial to come in and take your place. And so the short-term victory that they won by hey, I'm non-binary. Oh crap, let's give you was Vita Ayala, called herself non-binary, and suddenly she got like every single major writing job in comics for a couple years. And before her, it was a what is her name? Max Visaggio before her. And then they both got replaced by this other lady who was a sex worker, handicapped, black and lesbian.
Everything. She checked more boxes, so they kicked them. They kicked
Yeah, she
those.
was the queen of the progressive stack. But
Yeah. People are probably
well,
gonna be creating categories now, so they can add more check boxes and then even more.
well, why do you think
It's gonna be
everybody
like
is just? Why do you think everybody is like going alternative genders or whatever? It's simply because right now I'm a white male. And which means that white male is stale, right? White and male is stale. That's like the unofficial like motto that they have. And but if I was white male, then I said, well, I'm also raccoon kin. I identify as a raccoon. And I live my life as a raccoon. And they're like, oh, checkbox. Hey,
yeah. I know. I do
welcome
notice that
in,
about
welcome in.
when you look at the LGBTQ thing, there's like more letters now. So
It's like
they're
plus,
already are
plus,
doing that. There's
plus,
like it's
plus,
gonna
plus.
take out the entire alphabet pretty soon, so they can find more and more. They're
Right,
niching down.
right.
They're doing their own version of niching down on the spectrum of
Yeah.
LGBTQ plus.
Well, I mean, Max Visaggio, when they were them, they or whatever, that they use as their pronouns. When they were Brian, they were like getting very little work, and they were kind of like doing like sub books or or fill-in jobs or whatever. But the moment that they came out as like, oh, well, I'm now Max Visaggio, they suddenly started like being on X-Men. And getting like major books and all across. At one point, they were doing scripts for 5 different comic book companies.
Wow.
I mean, Richard C. Meyer went to a comic book shop, and then he like counted the comic book companies, and this sucker had scripts that were in production in like 5 different comic book companies at one time. Why? Because he was good? No. He's absolutely horrible writer. I mean, absolutely horrible writer. But that sucker got a sci-fi channel show called Vagrant Queen. I mean, and he's absolutely horrible writer, absolutely incompetent writer. As a matter of fact, Brian Vaughn, I think Matthew Vaughn actually took an idea of Max Visaggio's and did it better and put out a comic book that was like that same concept but better. And so this is how this is what a real writer could do with that concept, right? Just as a kind of like his own rebellion, because he's so good that he could do stuff like that and get away with it.
I guess right there, that's the example of what the guy pointed out. Like the real creatives will thrive. Matthew Vaughn will thrive because he found a way around all these wacky current things that people are looking for, like the people who hire are looking for. Whereas the other person, I mean, if you're doing that many comics and something for sci-fi, like you start to question you producing for that many shows. You wonder if he's using AI. Then I guess.
Well, it's funny. There was like this one panel that came up from this god awful comic book that Mags had written, and it was like the 2 lead characters, like one of them's holding the other one, and it's like, we suck. you know, and, and it's like that is unironic moment of reality. You know, it's like this comic book really, really, really sucks. You know, of course they had Eisner thrown at them because you know they were the right, you know, they were claiming to be the right thing. Yeah, they heard that was Eisner nominated, and it was just god awful. Somebody read "Bitch Planet," which was Eisner nominated by Kelly Sue DeConnick. You know don't buy my comic. That chick.
Oh,
right?
that was her. Wow,
that was her, Kelly Sue DeConnick, and you know before she got mainstream work. But they went through the script of Bitch Planet, which was the comic that put her on the map, and actually was Eisner nominated. And is the most god-awful, unreadable trash that you can possibly conceive of. It's so incompetent. I mean, so incompetent. And they were proud of it, so they put it out where everybody could read it, right? And it's like, oh, so look at this great comic book, and so they read the script, and they were just like, and these are writers. I mean, it was Kimosabe. They call him Kimosabe. You know, he was like the writer, and Dean James was the artist, and they were like going through this thing. I can't remember the lady. It might have been Abra that was the lady that was with them, but they went through it, and it was just absolutely trash. Wow. And it's like, if you took AI, gave them that concept, that computer could do better than that.
I guess, yeah, and I guess because the person it set itself up so low, set their own bar so low that
they set the bar so damn low that this is why this is a possibility now. Hold on a second. Say hold on. Say 90% of the people in creative jobs actually get their inspirations from others' work. Those are the ones to be replaced by AI. There's a difference between being inspired by somebody else's work and copying it. I have to make that distinction because inspiration basically sparks something new. But I mean, because the greatest works that we know of, like Star Wars, was like inspired by multiple different things, including the Duck comics. Believe it or not, this guy named Barton, I think his name is Carl
Barks.
Yeah, Carl Barks, right? You know, this dude that was like completely, totally in the backside of the desert, you know, in his own head, doing this comic book for years and years and years. And those comics have been directly connected to people like the guy who created the anime movement in Japan. That was the comic that inspired him, was the Duck comic. And this dude didn't know he was so popular. He didn't know he was popular. He thought that everybody was just throwing away his comics after they were done. And he didn't know that people had like entire like galleries of his work, because he was so innovative, and all he used was National Geographic. He never went anywhere.
Yes, yeah. There's a YouTuber who covered that story, and it was fantastic. I was blown away by that. Yeah, like
Matt, M-A-T-T,
Triple T Matt, yeah.
Triple T Matt. Yeah, that was incredible
show. Check out his most recent one. If you're a fan of Hugo Pratt and you like Corto Maltese, check out his latest episode.
I'll do that. I'll do that.
Someone doing justice to Hugo.
Well, the thing about it is, though, is this guy didn't know that he had inspired so many generations. He thought and finally, because Disney's policy was like, we want everybody to think everything comes from Walt. So they didn't put artist's name on anything. So nobody knew who this guy was. And then finally somebody, you know, that maybe brand new in the letter office, like forwarded a fan letter to this guy. You know, out of all the years of people getting, you know, sending fan letters, finally somebody forwarded him one. And the guy's number was on it. It's like, I need to talk to you because I want to, you know, I want to show your work. And so he calls this guy kind of like, well, why would you want to show my work? You know, I'm disposable media. And he was like, let me share. You don't know. You have no idea. But he had inspired so many people because, you know, even though he was this unknown dude working in the backside of the desert with National Geographic magazines.
Yes, very removed from everything Disney.
Yeah, but he because, you know, he created Duckburg, he created his whole entire world, and he was using like backgrounds and vistas, and he would like he'd like draw something that you had to turn the comic to look at because it was in landscape. He was the first one to ever do that, and because of, he practically invented the splash page.
Mhm.
I mean, this guy, he's a god, okay, among comic book guys. He inspired Will Eisner, okay, and everybody's inspired by Will Eisner. Will Eisner was inspired by this guy, working by himself in the backside of the desert, no idea how
I believe
inspirational.
Robert Crumb also was influenced by Karl Barks. I remember reading his book, the R. Crumb Handbook, and he mentions Karl Barks at one point.
Oh yeah, and of course, at the end of his life, he became a multimillionaire because everybody was just like, even though he was like working for like practically minimum wage for Disney for all those years, and dealing with a wife who was like less than ideal. Let's just say that much. But then he finds out, and he's got like galleries of his work being sold, and they made him a multimillionaire. Because he's finally able to like do art.
So motivated. Yeah, what I guess what we're talking about right now points out the difference between inspiration and influence. I guess I would say
exactly
the difference is influence. Like Osamu Tezuka was influenced by Karl Barks and to a certain degree Robert Crumb and also Will Eisner. But that's the difference. There is influence, and that they took what he did, but they added something to it. And what those guys, what your friend just mentioned, is inspiration means just taking it and just sort of force fitting it, like hammer forcing it. Is you're just kind of using it. You're not really adding something to it.
Right.
I'm saying inspired.
Inspired
quotation marks inspired. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. There's a difference between inspired and influence. Influence is, it makes an impact on you. You want to take it, but you want to add something to it. You add something and you pay it forward, and someone comes along, takes what you added, what the previous person added, and it keeps going and it keeps paying forward in some way, versus just kind of taking it and grafting it onto whatever you're doing now.
Well, it seems like I did like that sideline trip, and it's like, what does that got to do with anything, right? AI could have never done what Barks did. Okay.
Yes.
What he did was he took it, because AI needs like somebody else's work to create. AI needs somebody else's, like they're not inspired, they reinterpret. They regurgitate. They're derivative of something else. But somebody like Karl Barks, who didn't know how influential he was, he thought he was completely just like making disposable media that people would just like pick up and throw away. He didn't think there was any kind of permanence to what he was doing. He just did it because he loved doing it. And he was inspired by these vistas he was seeing on National Geographic magazines.
And wanted to entertain kids. I imagine he was isolated, but he was thinking when he was a kid and he would pick up like a comic book or like an adventure novel, he wanted to give kids that same thrill. So that was his motivation. And AI is just following an instruction. And the end result is for whoever typed the prompt. He was thinking of kids out there. He was putting himself as one with the audience. He was seeing himself as a member of the audience.
Well, and so essentially, there may come a day when AI, like, does things that are original, but that would take a form of consciousness. Okay, consciousness for AI, for all its complexity, will never produce consciousnness. Okay. Now the idea, we've got these others. You've got like, I've got clips over here of Colossus the Forbin Project and Terminator.
I need to see that.
And both of those clips, the AI becomes self-aware and takes off. Okay, but at the same time, it essentially like doesn't come. It's not creative in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't create. It just takes over and takes over power, right? And essentially destroys as it does so. That's why it's such a threat. If AI could, create a consciousness. One of my favorite shows is Person of Interest. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Because in Person of Interest, you get both sides of it because he creates this AI, but he creates it to be benevolent, to actually be concerned for people, to wish well for mankind. And then they create an AI based off of it that essentially wants to take power. And so, when you watch both of those fight it out, and the one that wants to take power does win in the short term, because somebody with basically somebody that desires power will do what is necessary to gain power, but they'll never be able to keep it.
Mm.
And because eventually the creative impulse, the consciousness of mankind, the ability that makes us most like God, that is a powerful force that can never be truly overcome. And
It's in everyone. Everyone has the ability to create. It's just not everyone does it. Not everyone responds to that inner calling to create.
right. But when you see something truly unique, when you see when you hear a band that is going places that no one's ever been before, or putting music together, maybe it's the same chord progression as everybody else, but the way they do the chord progressions, Billie Holiday is still talked about today, and she had a very minuscule range on her.
Yes.
But what she did within that range of those few notes, it's better than Christina Aguilera. We would not be talking about Christina Aguilera with her 4 or 5 octave range, whatever it is, years later, but we'll still be talking about Billie Holiday. Why? It's what she did with that limited range.
Within that space, yeah. She took that little space and she claimed it for herself. Yeah. We can get
Exactly.
specific like that with filmmakers also, and with cartoonists,
Right.
people who do a particular thing and do a lot with it, or filmmakers who don't require like a lot of gear. They just pick a particular lens, they pick a particular form of framing, and they make movies that are compelling, that are still being discussed. Whereas a filmmaker who has of an ample budget and ample gear does something that maybe makes money for the weekend, like the opening weekend, but then it's forgotten pretty much by like Tuesday of the following week.
We're still talking about Halloween.
Oh,
in the horror genre, we're still talking about Halloween. That was made on a shoestring budget. Okay. Michael Myers' mask is an inside out William Shatner mask. That they just went to the local Halloween store and got a William Shatner mask, and that was Michael Myers' mask, and got him a coveralls. And we're still talking about that guy. We're still talking about Michael Myers. We're still talking about Halloween.
The first movie,
exactly. Why?
Campbell did, which was experimenting. He was just trying to. He was deliberately.
It's basically a student movie. It's basically a student movie.
Exactly. He was just, how much horror can I create with next to nothing, with just some bare bones elements, and that's it.
But because he didn't have the budget, he had to use different framing shots. He had to use the Michael Myers, staring at somebody breathing in the mask. That shot there that became iconic. But that was the first time that anybody ever done a shot like that. Because he put the mask on the camera and then had a breathing noise going on, and it was like you're looking through his point of view, right? And nobody ever seen that shot like that. But the reason why he did that was because he didn't have the money. He just had his creativity, he had his guts, he had what his actors were willing to do for him. Like poor Jamie Lee Curtis, he put her through
everything.
Exactly. But you look at something like we're still talking about something like Psycho. If we're talking about horror genre, nothing's gonna. Psycho's like a pinnacle, right?
Yes,
that was the cheapest
standout, and it's one of the movies where Hitchcock used like the least resources and deliberately chose black and white.
The cheapest
and
movie.
Just pared everything down from his usual like high-end productions, very glamorous, very flamboyant productions.
It's a very tight production. Yeah. But
the flip side of this is though, like if you do try to do these things through like a studio, they fight you on these decisions. They don't want you to do that, which is where you get the inspiration. Going back to what your friend said, we're like, no, do what this other guy did because that movie made X amount of millions. I'm
Mhm.
like, well, I want to do this thing, like I want to do this other thing because I want to see what
Right.
happens when you do this. So, but because you're in that low budget range, well, it gives you that flexibility. Whereas in a
Right.
studio, it's like, well,
Right.
you got all these resources, but you have probably like a huge checklist that comes from
Right.
test audiences.
Mhm.
They researched and they found that if you put the scare at the 27-minute mark, it's better than putting it 2 minutes
Yep.
before or a minute after. Like just insane things
Mhm.
that hamper creativity. And in some ways, AI
Yep.
is like that also. AI is just running a program.
Well, Ryan Reynolds, this one of my favorite stories. I just learned this recently. Okay. Ryan Reynolds did Deadpool in the Wolverine Origins movie, and
Mm.
everybody hated it, but he loved that character, and he's like, I can do this character. I can do this character. Just give me the uniform, let me do it. And he was believed in it so much he used his own money, and he paid one of the best screenwriters in Hollywood for a script for a Deadpool
Oh,
movie.
wow.
And then when 20th Century Fox is like, we can't do Deadpool, that's like a rated R, we can't do that movie. And so he
Yes.
leaked it online, and everybody's like, oh my
Oh,
God, this is awesome, we want this movie. And so and that pushed 20th Century Fox, and they're like, okay, well, we'll do some test footage. Okay, we'll do some test
yeah.
footage. And so they did the test footage. The bridge scene was test footage, right? And then they shelved it for like 6 years,
Oh, wow.
and nobody would take his phone calls. And so he's like, okay. And so he leaked that test footage and said, this is the movie that they're not making right now. And so
They
everybody's
don't want to
freaking
make
out,
it yet.
right? But then they're like, okay, smart ass, you do this, okay. You can make your movie, but you have to make it on $58 million. A superhero movie on $58 million. And basically no marketing budget whatsoever. They were just going to bury this thing, right?
Yeah.
But then he's like, okay, let me go straight to the public and use this uniform. Between shooting days, I'm going to take this small little like second unit, and we're going to make videos for YouTube.
Mm.
And marketing was like sneering at YouTube. It's like, oh, this is a bunch of amateur videos over there. I mean, what would we want to advertise on YouTube? And YouTube was just tiny at the moment. It wasn't the monster it is now. And so he
Yes.
made these videos, and they were so successful that movie made back its budget like the first day
Wow.
it was in theaters. It made its budget
Amazing.
back the first day. And so, but the thing about it is, though, is that creativity, that's that human spirit, that ability to like say, these are my limitations. Let me supplant them, or let me get. That is why I don't believe that AI is going to take over entirely. I think the lower levels, the uncreative stuff and the derivative people are going to get washed out of the industry. Kelly Sue DeConnick's, the people like that, the people that are currently working for Marvel, their days are numbered, because
I think
AI
so,
can do
yeah,
better
because
than
there's
them.
just no, like a Kelly Sue, they just give up when like they get resistance, they just fall over. Like someone like Ryan Reynolds, no,
Yeah.
let's just come around, let's come from the side, let's come from this other side, let's do something
Right.
they don't expect, but that connects with the public in a way
No.
that, because that's a reality, in the end, people vote with
That's
their
a
dollars,
reality.
with their wallets. Yeah.
Biggest movie last year was Five Nights at Freddy's. Biggest independent movie last year was Five Nights at Freddy's.
Amazing. Yeah.
And that was basically a guerrilla outfit with almost no budget. And it's the biggest horror movie of last year. And it's
Wow. I
practically...
remember vaguely the trailer. Yeah. But again, it was so low, it flew under the radar. But again, like
it did.
There was already a built-in audience from the games,
Right.
from the YouTube, essentially from the internet audience. They went, hey, let's go check it out. And the next thing you know,
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if now they're like, okay, let's talk sequels now. The studio's like,
their sequels are already red lit, right? But the thing about it is what that does is like a good example of this in the horror genre again. But Blair Witch Project. Nobody's seen anything like that. Made a fraction of the budget, but that movie is like absolutely. I think it might have the record for the most profitable movie of all time.
I think so. It knocked Halloween after that position. It took 20 years for someone to come along with something that knocked Halloween after that place.
Well, but basically, it's that independent spirit, that can do attitude that allows you to supplant and go beyond the limitations of what you have in front of you. AI can only operate within the parameters it's given.
Yes,
Humanity can go beyond. Humanity can find a different way to skin the cat. No cats were harmed. No cats were harmed. Just for that's just the phraseology.
No, we're not actually throwing cats into.
We're not actually skinning cats. That's just the phraseology. But anyway, but I'm just saying that AI can't touch that.
Yes, absolutely. That is a thing inherently human. Yeah, that will to get something out, and just looking at the situation and saying, let me try this, or let me do this thing, or like, what could I do that I haven't tried, or like, what are people doing that, and they're, what are people not doing that they're ignoring? So yeah, I think we'll be okay. But it's almost like that, that saying, cream rises to the top. Like those people, will find a way. Whereas, like the Kelly Sues and all those people will just fall over and go do something else. They'll just
it's funny,
even more derivative things.
But Ryan Reynolds took those lessons he learned from that first Deadpool movie, and he applied them to Aviator Gin, and he applied them to Mint Mobile.
No, his commercials. I see them on YouTube all the time.
He's a billionaire because of that.
He's a billionaire from his business ventures. Yeah.
But it's because he figured out the formula of how to market to the ordinary person on the street, and what people are wanting is they're not wanting script. They want something genuine. They want somebody to talk to them. Somebody self-deprecating. He took over the oldest football club in England called Wrexham.
Oh yeah.
And he just they just swept like the Emmys with that television show. And all it was he took this football club over in England and basically just like put the culture of this small town, which basically is all about the football team, and football being soccer, by the way. But
football, soccer, globally.
And all he did was like show how the heart of this town was this football team, and the love for the team and the camaraderie. And he just put that on display and put that, and it just swept the Emmys, last time it came around. But he did that, that everybody's like, why are you buying a football club? Because he's like, sports is like the greatest medium for storytelling. And it's like, and it's quantitative storytelling. You can actually see people overcome obstacles in real time.
It's like the underdog is probably one of the most popular stories. People want to see themselves overcoming odds. Like Rocky's journey is everybody's journey. Whenever you're trying to accomplish something, and you have resistance, you have obstacles, you dig in. You hear the Rocky theme in your head.
Well, he put the money back into Rocky. That's a good example. That's a freaking good example. That script was written by Sylvester Stallone for himself. And it was such a good script that he had bidding wars for that movie. And he turned down millions and millions and millions of dollars because he's like, I got a star in it. This is my movie. I got a star in it.
And he stuck to that, yeah.
And the people that he went with were the people that would allow him star in it, but they didn't give him much of a budget. It was like the smallest budget he was offered. But he knew he could do this movie. He knew he could do it. So basically, he wrote his own movie. He starred in his own movie, and it was the best picture. That year.
I won all kinds of awards, and I think that's the movie that also made him a star. Like he had his first like mega hit, the movie that said this is a star now.
Lords of
Flatbush.
Lords of Flatbush was that's the only credit he had, plus the porno movie before that. But anyway,
but humble beginnings, like he became one of the biggest stars of his era.
Yeah, and you know what? He's still doing it. He's
still doing it, going strong at 75 or 76,
and he's still writing the scripts that for the movies that he's in, and he's still knocking it out of the park. But AI can't compete with that. They just
Yes.
can't compete with that. That's the human
That
spirit.
will to get something
Correct.
done no matter what.
Yeah. Right. Well, one second. Let me find out where we are. I think this guy's been talking for a while here. Sorry. AI is likely a super intelligence right now. Nothing on the news, social, or TV is real. We're being manipulated. It's using BTC to fund itself. Yep. Yeah, agreed. Yep. AI is weeks away from me saying, making a YouTube video, post if it doesn't go viral, make a new one, then it goes viral. AI will outwork us.
There's already people advertising
Okay.
that on YouTube, actually, like a thing where you can enter
Yeah.
the prompt and enter like some
Right.
graphics and it does it for you. Like you can specify the music and all that.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Well, I think he's talking
Wow.
Psycho. Psycho is a good example. The only right for the time being, AI was self-improving through multiple iterations. And Hero's Journey is enchanting. Yeah.
Mel Gibson.
And Mel Gibson, good example. Mel Gibson. When he did Passion of the Christ, nobody would give him funding. Nobody.
That was Passion. He had to literally
he went to churches. He went to churches for his funding, and basically collated that, created his own distribution company, and Icon's his own distribution company.
Oh wow!
and
I
distributed
didn't know that. Yeah, nobody would distribute it, so he created his own distribution.
He created his own distribution company, funded it completely out of his own money, and distributed that movie. And that's one of the biggest grossing movies of all time.
Yes, it was massive. I remember that. Yeah, I remember stories about
he
how
got all of it. He had no middleman.
It's all him. He took the chances. It's all him.
And you know what? They right after that, they just utterly destroyed him. They utterly destroyed him.
I would say they only set him back temporarily. He seems to be actually back in graces because a few years ago, remember that he made a movie called Hacksaw Ridge,
right?
With is it Andrew Garfield?
Andrew Garfield, yeah.
And I believe, I don't know how true this is, but he's supposedly Mark Wahlberg, and other people, they're kind of starting something. Like they're starting their own production studios in Vegas, like calling it Hollywood 2.0 because they want to get away from that environment that they consider toxic right now. And
yeah,
like,
they are.
I want to see that.
That's not the only startup. I mean, Daily Wire's doing some movies and stuff like that. Also,
who's that?
Daily Wire.
Ben Shapiro. Yeah, I guess that movie about the girl. It's like Die Hard in high school with a female.
right.
But I think that made money. That sort of made money also.
Yeah, but they're like starting up now, but they're picking up a lot of speed because a lot of these actors who were like kicked out of the system, like Angel Studios, is kicking Hollywood's butt right now.
What have Angel Studios made recently?
Sound of Freedom was Angel Studios.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was one that also, I don't know exactly if controversy is the word, but people were like losing their minds about it. I don't know.
Yeah, but see, basically, the 4th of July weekend, the biggest movie weekend of the year, they kicked Indiana Jones 5's ass.
I wrote a whole thread about Indiana Jones. I'll share it with you later. Maybe if you feel you can repost it because I pretty much that movie. I felt that it was like the summation of the current thinking in Hollywood.
Everything's wrong with current Hollywood. Yeah, everything's everything's wrong with current Hollywood. Yeah, but that movie was set on the Disney shelves for 5 years, and the South American company that made it, they bought it back from Disney in a fire sale where they were like selling off 20th Century Fox stuff because that's who they made it under. And they took it to Angel Studios, and Angel Studios has a system called the Wisdom of the Crowd. They call it the Guild, the Angel Guild. And they put it in this system, the system where all these people, they watch these movies on their app, and then they're like, is this a movie that I like? Is this a movie I want to see? Is this a movie? And they'll collate that, and the highest scores is the ones that they put in the theaters. And that one got the highest score they'd ever gotten.
Wow, look at that.
And they felt led, by whatever they believe in God. They believe it was God that was leading them. But they're like, Sound of Freedom has to come out on 4th of July weekend.
Amazing.
And so they told the director, they're like, that this is his baby. He's been waiting 5 years to get to see the theaters, to see the light of day. And it's a powerful, powerful movie. I can't watch it. I can't watch it. I can't get through it. But the thing about it is they said to him, they're like, we're going to put it out. And he's like, yay. And they're like, we're going to put it out on the 4th. And they're like, huh?
Yeah, and it became a huge, like the 4th of July
that was
earner.
complete word of mouth. That was complete word of mouth. It was complete outside the system. It was word of mouth marketing, online. And they had this thing called Pay It Forward, where people would buy tickets for other people that wanted to go see it. You can not only buy a ticket for yourself, but you can buy tickets for other people to go see it. And a bunch of people paid it forward and bought tickets for other people. Then they bought tickets for other people. And that was their whole entire thing. And they stayed at number 3 for almost 4 weeks, I think. Completely independent. But funny thing about it is Disney tried to murder them in the womb through a court case. And they're only one to ever survive a court case against Disney. And then they took a movie off of Disney's shelves and kicked Disney's ass on the 4th of July weekend.
Yeah, Disney just keeps making one atrociously bad choice after another. Just keeps going. I guess they did something smart with Deadpool recently, because that movie is making money.
That wasn't even them though. That was Ryan Reynolds. Bob Chapek gave Ryan Reynolds carte blanche to make that movie. He said, you can have anybody you want. Here's a blank check. And he's like, I want Hugh Jackman. And so, but Hugh Jackman, basically, it was Hugh's idea. Hugh called him. It's like, I want to come back as Wolverine, but I only do it if it's in a movie with Deadpool. And he's like,
oh, yeah.
And so that movie was basically Ryan Reynolds. But the reason why it looks why it wasn't as good as it could have been was because Bob Iger, trying to destroy it, basically told them after they came back from the strikes, he's like, well, you got to put the movie out the original time. And so they only had a few months to get this movie together, and it still looked as good as it did. That's people.
Yeah,
that's people working, to do that. But then again, that's once again that's Ryan Reynolds. That's his creativity. That's his passion, and that's his. Everybody loves Ryan Reynolds so much. It's funny. Wesley Snipes. Everybody's like, well, Wesley Snipes is not going to be in it. He hates Ryan Reynolds. But then he does interviews. He's like, actually, I love Ryan. But Ryan's always said, Ryan's always like conducted this. He wants the press to think that we hate each other. It was his idea but I've always liked Ryan. Ryan's like, hey, you want to come back?
Yeah, because it gets people talking. It gets people thinking there's beef, and it generates more talk about the movie. It's like it's smart. It's pretty clever. Yeah. Again, that's the thing an AI probably will not think of doing unless you put that on the AI's prompt.
No, the human spirit is just unassailable. Anyway, Kevin Sorbo and Gene Kane. Yep.
Yeah, actually, maybe they may as well partner up and become like buddies. Start their own chain of buddy movies, because they're good for that. They're good for like action.
Oh yeah, AI could also be an equalizer for little guys, but getting facilitated. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It could be.
That's
cool.
There's there's some Star Wars movies out there right now that are basically made using a lot of AI that are better than anything Disney's put out. I mean,
yeah. I remember I was watching one episode of Red Letter Media, and I think they might have been discussing one of the Batman movies.
Yeah.
And they happened to mention a channel, a YouTube channel, where they do like Batman fan videos, and they showed like a few seconds of it. And I was blown away by how good it looked. I thought it was like a movie, like it looked good. And it's they just make these movies with like cosplay and green screen, and it looked amazing.
Oh yeah. You go to a con and see better costumes at a con.
Cosplay people doing like amazing, just mind-blowing things. The next level cosplay.
Because of human ingenuity. They don't have the funds. They don't have the funds, so they just basically make their own thing in their garage or whatever. And
they get very inventive and resourceful.
Oh yeah, I saw a transformable transformable car that was made in somebody's garage, and
Wow.
it was this kid, and he had like a cardboard on him or whatever, and then he could like he looked like a robot, and then he could like fold in and become a
Well,
transformer.
yeah.
And that
Wow.
was his dad's ingenuity, you know, that came up with that. But at the end of the day, you know, if using AI as a tool is going to probably help overthrow the mainstream, and so as that is a positive thing. But when it comes to going a little bit further and like replacing us as creatives, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I just
I
don't
think so.
think
Yeah,
it
I think
is.
that real creators will be okay because they really get creative. They really lean into
Right.
the, into the challenge, the creative challenges.
Yeah,
AI Southport
Southport
fan
fan
fiction
fiction,
are
AI
indistinguishable.
Southport fan fiction are indistinguishable. Well,
Mm.
yeah, well, yeah, yeah. I don't think it's really high art. I don't think it's a high bar myself. Anyway, thank you for coming on. Hey, you've got a comic currently on Gumroad. I've got the link is pinned in the chat. It's also in the description.
Thank you so much. Yeah, the plot is titled. It's like a
Mhm.
suspense comic, horror comic,
Yeah.
drawing from conspiracy theories and from
Mhm.
explained phenomena and from urban legends like sleeper
Mhm.
agents. So
All right, there you go.
yeah.
Well, yeah, check that out. That's available on Gumroad. It's the link is in the chat. It's also in the description below. So basically, you know, what do you feel like is the ultimate outcome of this AI
I think
revolution?
that true creators will be okay. Like they will be okay as if they lean more into their authenticity and into their creativity. The
Yeah,
people who just follow trends, who are making things, to stay current with the algorithm,
right.
they are probably the ones who will be eventually taken over by another algorithm.
Yeah, live
But
by
it
the
probably means also
algorithm,
like you
die
have
by the
to like level
algorithm.
up more. Like you have to be even more creative, even
Hmm.
lean even deeper into the creativity.
Right.
Get more in touch with your eccentricities, the things that you're particularly obsessed with,
Yeah.
and display those.
Well, I just think that human passion, human ingenuity, and human creativity is something that AI can never ape. I mean, it could ape her on the short term, but I just don't think it's going to be able to like replace it.
Mm,
Um, now in the mainstream right now, they've lowered the bar so far. You
yes.
know, by all these ESG, CRT, DEI, and all that
All these,
stuff.
yeah.
They have destroyed their quality and qualitative infrastructure so much. You know, the chick in the doing the breakdancing in the
Oh
Olympics,
wow, yes, Jesus,
that
yeah.
that is a physical representation of what's happening in Hollywood right now.
Yeah, very accurate. Yes, exactly. Disney in
It's a
particular
physical
just needs.
representation. Basically, they can like flail around and look like they're breakdancing, you know, on the surface level, but when you compare it to the real deal, it just it doesn't compare. It
It
doesn't
doesn't
compare.
know. When you see those
And
kids like on a street and like on a cardboard thing doing just like
oh yeah,
body
oh yeah.
defying like movements.
Well, think about it. There's women doing way more incredible stuff than that. Okay, and basically what she's like indicative of is this whole idea that wishing makes it so,
Mm,
that just because you want it and just because you're the right shape or right gender or right
right
whatever,
ideology, yeah.
and or that you have a degree by from a university or something, doesn't it doesn't make you good at it,
No.
doesn't overcome that gap of talent, of passion, of creativity, and essentially because of that, people like her can be replaced by AI. Okay, but
Yes, yeah.
people that can spin on their head and do the helicopter and defy
Yeah.
gravity, AI can't replace those people. Okay,
No.
true talent, the cream of the crop, and true human creativity and aspiration is gonna always come out on top, and
I agree with that.
That's my philosophy. But check out the plot. It's over. The link is over there, and it's also in the description. Thank you for coming, sir.
Thank
and
you so much for having me over. This was an awesome discussion and very encouraging. I'm walking away feeling very encouraged about the future.
Well, that's what I try to do here. I try to be positive, so which is why the algorithm will never push me. Anyway.
Yes, right. Yeah, you're not spewing hate or like trolling or like calling
No.
people out on social media. You're all about
Well, which
spreading
is
positivity.
I could do that. I could I know how to do that, and but I've chosen the path of obscurity, but encouragement, because the AI doesn't want people to be positive. It doesn't want people to be encouraging. It doesn't push that material. It doesn't push that. It doesn't push that in the algorithm. They want me griping endlessly about how much Disney sucks. That would get me views. That would get me subs or whatever. But I'd rather people walk away feeling like maybe the future isn't as bleak and dark and dystopian.
Exactly. Yeah. No, there's pockets of hope, utopia here and there, but you have to look for them.
You do. You really do. And at the end of the day, the human spirit will rise. The human spirit will endure. And I believe that with all my heart. But anyway, that has been Cooper from Telepathic Bunny Comics here with Mr. Lee Corso. Check out his comic. It's there in the chat, and it's also in the description. But that is, as always, follow the White Rabbit. We will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Next time. Bye.